under 30 times. SoundHound AI. Let's bring in George Tsilis to join here on Next Gen. George, is this the new blockchain iced tea at this point? We're just throwing AI at the end of names now, and you're going to get a rally in the stock?
Well, I mean, there's to some degree, I think there's some momentum that's built into just all the sympathy plays associated with artificial intelligence. So you got to keep that in mind. But one of the things about SoundHound is it's actually real technology. It's voice-activated artificial intelligence and AI recognition technology, and effectively, you have to think about voice to text from an artificial intelligence standpoint, but also voice to graphics, and I think that's another area of interest when it comes to this technology, but also programming, voice to programming, because artificial intelligence has created programmers that don't have any experience, because it's very easy to use AI from a computer program standpoint. So I think the technology is actually quite useful, and obviously there's a lot of momentum based upon the price action we've seen recently, but there's some major players also that are interested in this company. NVIDIA also disclosed a stake in the company. SoftBank also disclosed a stake in the company from an equity standpoint. And so obviously there's good technology here. But when it comes to the momentum, we have to consider financials and the prospects from that regard. But they are expected to earn or actually lose 5 cents a share. But that's actually quite a bit of an improvement, considering they lost 15 cents last year for the same quarter. So that's about a 60% increase in, of course, earnings per share. Sales, last year they generated a very small amount, a paltry $9.5 million. They're expected to nearly double that to $17.5 million. And so overall, the company's market cap is inflated. It's over $1.6 billion in terms of market capitalization. Last year, from a sales standpoint, they generated around $38 million, but they lost $100 million. So that's about 2.5 times their revenues. But anything can happen, because once there's mainstream adoption of a technology, you could certainly see a continuation of the stock, irrespective of last year's earnings, or irrespective maybe of future sales growth estimates that are built in right now.
So George, with this earnings event, I mean, still due, and we're already making a 16% move to the upside. I mean, we surged earlier this week. We're now up, 89 or 88% roughly here week to date in shares. We've risen 247% since the start of this year. So does that make this earnings event difficult then, just given like this severe upside we've seen in shares so relatively quickly? I mean, earnings will pretty much have to be a slam dunk at this point.
Yeah, that's the thing. The run-up already, causes some, precautionary take on moving into this stock prior to earnings. I think at the end of the day, the company seems to be well capitalized in terms of institutional ownership. Will they use this opportunity to raise some cash in a secondary? That's quite possible. But ideally speaking, they do have to hit the numbers and perhaps guide higher for a continuation. If they don't, there'll probably be some slippage or give back. But, I'm going to throw my hands up on this one. I don't necessarily know what will happen. Ideally speaking, what I can suggest is just think about NVIDIA or some of the other AI stocks. The Wall Street consensus was so underwhelming that everyone got it wrong. And so that could be the case here. In other words, if SoundHound all of a sudden guides tremendously higher because there's some, large-scale customer out there, I don't know if it's NVIDIA or not, that can cause the stock to continue higher from here, even though it's made such a big move. So just expect a lot of volatility. Options are probably going to be hard to trade on this one, because the stock price is below $10. But they have to at least hit or guide higher for, in my view, a continuation. If they don't, you'll probably see a sell-off, and also some pressure based upon a secondary if they do decide to issue one.
Well said, George. I think that kind of sets the stage for what could be a volatile event for this particular stock. But I want to ask you something that I got asked the other day, just walking around the office. Somebody came up to me and said, how is the everyday person benefited from any of these AI products that are out there? And I couldn't give them an answer. I mean, it makes it easier if you're a student, maybe to get some answers for your homework. Maybe it can generate some artwork for you if you need it. But for the most part, to me, it's taken away somebody else's job. And I read what SoundHound's working on. It sounds a lot like Amazon Alexa or Apple's Siri product that, to me, this isn't it. Like, I have both of them, and I don't really use them. It was pitched as the next big thing, but I'm not sure that it was. George, anything that you have that, how this, in its current state, is even benefiting people?
Well, I mean, across the board, I mean, I can tell you right now, I've used artificial intelligence to help me program. I don't have any programming skills whatsoever. So I'm just giving you an example list on my behalf. But I think there's a lot of room for anything that has to do with text recognition-based AI. So I can't speak for SoundHound's technology versus Amazon Alexa. I'm sure there's a lot of technical differences. But again, I think there's a lot of room for the utilization of text AI-based technologies for optimizing productivity, because that's what AI really is. It's a productivity tool. And if it does displace workers and creates more value, then that creates economic gains. So, but you have to be careful, because not all AI is created equal. There's obviously going to be some winners and losers. Obviously, SoundHound has been a winner from a price standpoint, but let's just see if it becomes more mainstream adopted from their technology. And it certainly could. I mean, you have to think about major customers that could adopt it. Microsoft, I'm just throwing some names out there. NVIDIA obviously is interested in it. And if that happens, then it becomes a lot more interesting from a financial standpoint versus just more of a momentum standpoint.
All makes sense, George, and I appreciate the insights. I mean, and this isn't to say that artificial general intelligence, some sort of research tools that could be in the work for down the line, don't make massive impacts on the world. I'm just saying in the current state, it looks like it kind of helps in some isolated scenarios. I'm a little bit of a skeptic at this point, but we'll see. Appreciate it, George Tsilis, for the Inside Senior Markets Correspondent for the Schwab Network.